Welcome everybody to China Insider. Today we're going to cover three topics. They're all super important. The first is going to be an update on Angela Chao's mysterious death and some of the new information available to us. And the second topic is about a Twitter account with 1.6 million followers, how the Chinese police is trying to find and track every single follower from China to interrogate them about why they're following this account. And then the third, we're going to talk about the recent interesting situation around Kinmen, which is an island near Taiwan, how two fishermen, they allegedly drowned, but now they survived and went back to China, that they're actually PLA soldiers disguised as fishermen. So we'll talk about that later. But first, let's talk about the very important new details surrounding the death of Angela Chao. So let's go into it. Now, this is, again, an article from Austin American Statesman, who has been following closely just based on the information available to us. Now, according to the latest information, for more than an hour, emergency rescuers and volunteers tried to pull Angela Chao out of a vehicle submerged in a pond on a central Texas ranch. And according to them, this was actually the latest information about who was involved in this. Now, it's very interesting because in the last report, they mentioned something about how first responders arrived at 100 Schneider Lane. So I'm going to find that for you. So 100 Schneider Lane. And this is, if you watched our last video, you would know that I had concluded that this pond here was the one that was where she fell. But apparently that's not, because actually 100 Schneider Lane is the wrong address. The real address is this, 101 Schneider Lane. Okay, so this is the real address where it happened, as it was confirmed by this reporting here. Where is it? Let's see here. So sheriff's deputies responded to 101 Schneider Lane in Johnson City for a possible water rescue, and everything else we'll continue to cover, okay? Now, the most important part to know about this was, if you watch my last video, I had said that this ranch in 101 Schneider Lane belonged to Jamie Emilio and William Emilio, who is the former CEO of IBM. It turns out, because I was actually wrong, it turns out Jamie Emilio and William Emilio had split. Now, this person that's not William Emilio, that's somebody else. Anyways, the point was, I was fooled by this Instagram thinking that they still own the ranch, but they don't actually own the ranch. So take a look at this is open corporates, right? Mustang Waters Ranch, which is what it used to be called on 101, like 101 Schneider, used to be called Mustang Waters Ranch. But sometimes in 2020, let's see here, it won't let me open. Let me refresh this. See all events. Sometimes in between 2022 to 2023, this ranch was sold by William Emilio to somebody else, okay? So that's very important. What basically confirmed it was that the creation of this one, which is called JWCB Ranch, and this has been in existence for since at least 2020, okay, so over 3 years ago. So somehow, now the sale is not made public, but somewhere between this creation of the JWCB ranch and the Mustang Waters Ranch, the ownership was transferred. So how do we know that this ranch actually belonged to Jim Breyer, who is the husband of Angela Chao? Well, look at the address here. So 455 North City Front Plaza Drive, Suite 1730, Chicago, is the exact same address as Breyer Capital LLC, which is, Jim Breyer's investment firm, Breyer Capitals. So yeah, that basically confirms that this ranch ownership belongs to Jim Breyer. Now, even if we go and take a look at the satellite photo, remember we had this gate here that says JW Ranch, right? JW Ranch. It's no longer called Mustang Waters Ranch, so clearly ownership changed. There's also a circumstantial evidence. If you go to Jim Breyer's name, his real full name is James W. Breyer, so James W. JW Ranch, okay? So it confirms that this ranch that Angela Chao died on is their own ranch. So that's also another interesting thing, because now that we have confirmed that this ranch actually belongs to, let me see here, that this ranch actually belongs to themselves, the mysterious death of her, it becomes even more complicated to understand, because take a look here. these are the only two ponds in which it was possible that Angela Chao died, like the pond-wise, right? So for her, for the car to drive somehow into this pond, and she drowned in here while the car was submerged. And according to this article, they, let's see here, the second batch of the EMS emergency responders arrived before 12:30, 27 minutes after they were called. Okay, so there were two batches of the responders, and it took them more than an hour or almost an hour to try to get her out of the car because it was already submerged. And so, let me go to the photos here, not this one. Jim Breyer, let me see where it is. This one here. This, just take a look at the picture of this, right? They said they had problems getting a tow truck to go near the water. It seems like these rocky banks here are pretty hard to reach in terms of the distance for this pond. And just looking at this picture here, right? The only possible location in which that she could drive the car into and the tow truck wouldn't reach would be somewhere, in the middle of this, right? In the middle of this. Now, even if you own the entire ranch, you still wouldn't park somewhere that is random, right? Now, according to Kyle Bass, who has been revealing some information to this, says that it was her Tesla that launched into the pond. Okay, and now I believe he also, in this one, he somewhere mentioned something about, let me see here. Let me go to his page. Here. So look at this, right? So it says, her body did not receive an autopsy at the family's request. There's a surveillance video of Chao going into reverse, aggressively backing over a significant obstacle, and then her Tesla launching into the pond. Okay, now, so that means, according to this photo, the Tesla must have been parked somewhere like along the road here. This is, I don't know, either a guest house or some sort of a reception area. But there were, according to the article, there were also volunteers there. So she wasn't alone. And so it really begs the question, how she, who called the EMS, right? Clearly there were multiple calls and multiple witnesses to her drowning. So nobody could help her get out of the car. And it makes me question, because, when you think about if your car is submerged in water, it's not going to first, you immediately sink, right? It's going to take a little bit of time for water to come into your car. Now, if it's a Tesla, still, again, we don't know which car she was in. Some say it's Tesla, others say it was a Ford Explorer. But either way, it would take a little bit for her to there will be, seconds or even a minute for her to try to escape the car. But then again, I understand there's obviously cases where it's hard for people to get out of the car once, the water starts coming in, the pressure on the windows, right? You wouldn't be able to push it open. You need something to break the window. But then again, according to this article, it seems like here. So it says the deputies were in the water standing on what they believe was the vehicle, trying to gain access to the possible victim inside the vehicle. And here, let's see. It says here, 2 deputies stood on the submerged vehicle and requested tools to break the vehicle's windows. An EMS crew member and a firefighter went into the water with the tools to get into the vehicle. They used several tools to get into the vehicle, including a pike pole and a Halligan bar, a multi-purpose tool used by firefighters to force an entry. Now, eventually they pulled her out at about 12:56 a.m., which is already about, an hour or so after EMS arrived, and then 43 minutes later she couldn't be resuscitated. So if we just blend all the information together, right? Kyle Bass says she reversed aggressively over a significant obstacle. The only significant obstacle I can see is this thing here. This seems to be like some sort of a barrier or a gate. If somehow this was a sloped, downward slope, maybe her car was parked somewhere here and then aggressively backed over this thing and then into the pond. Now, there's also another possible scenario, right? If you think about it, when your car goes either forward or backward and you hit something like an obstacle, right? For example, I have these omega fish oils here. Let's pretend this is. Let's just pretend this is the car, right? And then this is the obstacle. So if you're reverse backing into this, and if the obstacle is really hard, then it could cause the car to maybe flip over into the pond. So once it's in the pond, it's actually upside down. By the way, you guys should check out this. I'll put the link in the description. Really good fish oil here. And so then, once the car is downwards, then that means the bottom of the car is like this, and that's even harder for people to get out, right? Because then your windows are already submerged to begin with. So that's a possibility, but it's very confusing why they couldn't get her out. Was it a mistake on the part of the emergency responders? But the bigger question to me is why would she back into a pond? Take a look at this. So this is Cynthia Wu. Now, Cynthia Wu, if you know her, this name, she was the TPP party running mate for vice president back in the Taiwan 2024 election. She's actually a family friend of Angela Chao. And here she wrote a message here. There's one important details. Excuse me. Oh. Okay, so it says, we chatted last Sunday, making plans for her to attend my baby's 1-year-old birthday celebration. I was looking forward to our reunion, only to receive the heartbreaking news. Okay, so last Sunday, what she means is that this was the day, or the day before it ended, when she ended up in water, right? So that was Sunday. Because she says February 16th, so the last Sunday would be February 10th. So there was, at least from this post, it didn't seem like Angela Chao had an intent to end herself. So it doesn't make sense that she, committed that herself. Something is definitely wrong with the car. Now, if it's a Tesla, it's even more interesting because according to Kyle Bass, the car was immediately returned to, see here, it says, had Chao's car delivered back to the family immediately after the suspicious death. So it's almost like they didn't, like if the car was the problem, I think the family would already be suing Tesla or asking Tesla to give some details, because the Tesla collects a lot of data and has footage, right? But it seems so far the only video we have is the surveillance footage. A Tesla looks nothing like a Ford Explorer. A Ford Explorer looks like this. This looks nothing like a Tesla to me, right? Even in the dark, like a Tesla, yet they look nothing alike. Was it a Cybertruck? That looks nothing like a Ford Explorer either. So it doesn't really make sense to me. But anyway, so that's the latest detail. And so, of course, they didn't have dive teams or anything like that, according to this, because a lot of the Blanco County first responders are actually volunteers mixed with full-time. Obviously, I don't think their expertise or their experience helped here either, because there's probably wasn't something that they're dealing with on a regular basis. So, this definitely isn't the end chapter for this entire story. Her death remains super suspicious. Her family has kept quiet, and there's no reason for us to stop questioning. Obviously, we want to answer. So there's that. All right, let's go on to our next topic. Now, this person called... So in Chinese is Teacher Li, or a Twitter handle, which is YuTouJla, is one of the, they have really comprehensive sources on videos, information coming out of China. So it's a great account to follow. However, looking at this account here, it says 1.5 million followers, right? Before today, it was actually 1.6 million followers. So what happened was, according to this post here, let me do a Google Translate so we can take a look at it. It says, urgent notice, the Ministry of Public Security is currently checking the people who follow me on my 1.6 million follower list and comment area. Once the identity is confirmed, the local police will be notified to call people for tea, which is another term for basically interrogating them. Therefore, all friends in China, please read the following precaution. So he goes on to say that, if you are somebody who is an ordinary person, suggesting that you stop following me, just kind of, read my posts, search my account, but don't follow. Bloggers, etc. And then to just basically ask people to take care of themselves. Now, you might think it's ridiculous because the Chinese police are literally going through, look at this, they're going through 1.5 million people, okay? So all these accounts, they're going through them one by one, okay? It just, how much human resources are they putting into this person, this one account, to go through 1.6 million people. I'm also, very shocked at the fact that they're going to do this, but that's the CCP. So they're unable to stop this Twitter account from publishing key detailed information, videos, up-to-date current event stuff about China. So they're going to sift through all of these people and determine which ones are in China, and then they're going to go and punish those people for following him. Isn't that crazy? That's how much they want to hide the truth from, people. And it's actually crazy. But a lot of people have also, so this is blowing up in the Chinese Twitter space, by the way, because a lot of the other accounts, even though they don't have as many followers, they still have a massive following from people in China. The way for people to go on Twitter is already, illegal technically, right? Using a VPN in China, you could get fined, you could get jail time. And then after you climb over the firewall to look at news about the rest of the world, you follow these people to get their perspectives and to get actual news, right? You're punished for that as well. So this is the state of China right now. They're essentially raging a war of public opinion and using state machine and state resources against one Twitter account and what it stands for, which is liberating China's information. So that's crazy. All right, on to our third topic. Now, this is about a week ago. There was a clash near Taiwan. So China, this title I think is very fitting from the time, says why China isn't blowing up over the death of fishermen that Taiwanese forces chased away. So during, I think this must have been like New Year's or even before New Year, there was a fisherman boat from China and the Taiwan Coast Guards chased it away and the fish boat flipped and people apparently drowned, right? But then later on, it turns out that these two guys actually survived. So these are the two people. So let me put this in here. So they were they were harassing, basically disguised as regular fishermen in the near Taiwan water, and then of course they're now surviving. They get interviewed by the state media saying how it wasn't our fault. We were just regular fishermen and we were chased away by Taiwanese people. They're provoking us, etc., etc. Right? But it turns out, as the powerful internet sleuth goes, they found that they're actually members of the Chinese PLA Navy, like this guy here, and they're, essentially the professional military crisis actors from the CCP like they're always featured in different media, right? Look at this one. So this was
那个仓室里面灌满水的话，即使我3个人不是生的话，其他人是可以生还的，没关系。
There's more. So this is another video here. Let's see.
最让我
This guy again, so shows that, well, look, it's actually a Chinese military personnel, a naval personnel. It's not a regular fisherman. So next time you hear anything about like how, oh yeah, fishermen near China, they're drowning, the chances are they're not regular fishermen. Regular fishermen don't have the audacity to do that, right? Why would a single fishing boat go near Taiwan's water for the sake of just getting some fish when they can just go to other part of the Chinese Ocean, not like 12 nautical miles off the Chinese coast to do that? So it doesn't make sense, right? But this also speaks to the volume of preparation that the CCP is doing for invading Taiwan. One of them is a disguise which you'll see like regular fishing boats, but they're actually disguised with paramilitary personnel or even naval personnel disguised as fishermen to play this so-called, civil to military line, right? It's a gray zone warfare because technically they're not real trained PLA soldiers, but they are actually PLA soldiers, but they're just fishermen. So it's like they're using civilians disguised to try to blur the line between a military invasion and one that where, they can successfully go across the ocean because they're civilian ships. And it's kind of crazy to think about because that's the dirty tactics that they use against Taiwan. When an invasion does come, that's going to be a part of the tactics because, but to anybody else, right? Think about this. If you see hundreds or thousands of small fishing boats just coming at your coastline in Taiwan, like, wouldn't you be suspicious about what's happening, right? So to me, it's absolutely hilarious because the CCP has continued to lie about this. But, they're very scared because this thing, obviously, if it had escalated the situation in China, then the Taiwanese side could have presented evidence, as we've now learned, that they're not really fishermen. They're actually PLA naval officers. In that case, that would have been another embarrassing, moment for the CCP. So that's why they didn't escalate the situation as much as we thought. Otherwise, they're the one who's really provoking war. So, that's something to think about next time you see a similar event like this. But yeah, that's today for the 3 topics that we covered on Angela Chao's latest update on her death, as well as the fishing boat with disguised fishermen who are actually naval officers, as well as a Twitter account super important for China's information freedom. The Chinese police force is actually not tracking them. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel today. Until next time, bye-bye.